Justin is 30. He doesn't seem to want to acknowledge whenever I call out that he's 30 in the group chat.
It's just
The
a number,
old
Austin.
man. You know, I'm only 28. Just want you to know that.
I always forget how much younger you are than us. You skip a grade or something?
Little boy. Yeah, I'm a genius.
Child prodigy.
That explains the big head.
Born to podcast. Yeah, you know, it's a real shame that you didn't have a birthday party or something. Could have gotten all together. What?
You just didn't get invited.
What?
There was a little shindig.
You just didn't get invited.
There was a party?
I didn't send out the invites.
And I wasn't invited?
It was it was a rager. It was actually in Vegas.
No, I'm screwing with him. I know there was a party because I have sources. Multiple people told me. And I was like, guess my invite didn't make it in the mail.
Oh, I was actually joking.
No.
Was
Did
making
you get
this up
invited?
like I threw a party. No.
Did you get it?
I
Did
did
you
not
get
that.
You had to be within a 2.5 hour radius.
I live in a 2.5 hour radius. That was one of the greatest insults of my life when I heard multiple people tell me about Justin's birthday party that they were mailed invitations to. And I said,
You would have liked the theme.
That's
really
interesting. So, yeah, you know.
Well,
Your
there's
golf
always
partners
40.
with somebody for years, you know them.
Wow.
They're
40.
This is
Since
really
they're
awkward.
born.
I was just making a joke. I was
you
saying you weren't invited.
podcast with somebody. You
actually weren't invited.
21 episodes.
Hey, I invited half the podcast, okay?
I do not take it personally. I live
Yes, we know
7
where your
hours away.
priorities lie.
Or
Well,
I guess
I hope
maybe
you
I
had a
invited
great
Sam as my
time.
golf partner, not my podcast co-host.
Did you go, Sam?
I did.
Mm.
It was a blast.
What did you do there? What was the theme?
Jello shots.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of a rager.
It's kind of the Masters golf theme. There's lots of green there. Like green, tons of green candy, pistachio cupcakes,
Just
hot
rubbing
dogs.
it in.
Because it was dogs at the turn. So hot dogs was a meal that you could get.
Seems like
Yeah, it was a
you
good
really
time.
put a lot of thought into this.
I was shocked. I knew nothing about it until Friday night. Well, I knew there was a party. I had no idea the theme.
You see, when I heard about it, I didn't want to text you for two reasons. One, I wanted to have this moment on the podcast where I could make a scene. And then two,
This
I
is a
wasn't
Bible
100% sure if it was a surprise or not. So, but
That
in
happened to several
hindsight,
people.
I should have just ruined the surprise since I wasn't invited. Why did I care?
I had that base covered.
Yeah,
You
Sam
ruined the
texted
surprise?
me.
Yeah, I did. I ruined the
It's like,
surprise.
what did you ask? You're like, hey, what do I wear to the party, or what did
He said, was I supposed to RSVP for your birthday party? And you
Yeah.
said, I said, I think
Did it not
Meredith may
say
have
this
sent
is a
something out.
surprise on the
It did,
invite?
but Grace threw away the invitation, so I forgot, I guess, that it was a surprise.
That's awesome.
And Justin was like, I think Meredith may have sent something out without me knowing about it. Did you receive something like that? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, which I felt like was a very suave way.
And then he bought me a Big League Chew. I'm excited. I haven't had Big League Chew since socks.
And a pair of socks. The number one
pair
of socks in golf.
That's what they say.
Well, I had gotten you something pretty cool, but then I had to return it. Now you'll never know what it was.
Like I said, Austin, 40. You'll be there.
We've been talking since the 5th grade, and somehow we've got more to say. Beat kicks and faster rhythm. Inflation's high, the game's too steep. Stream wars rage while we lose sleep. Big tech's wild, the Fed's a mess. But let's start a party, I guess. Symposium, where tangents thrive. Old friends talking, the takes collide. Symposium, no wrong or right, just good conversation deep into the night. Yeah, we're still talking.
So how has everybody been? Anything new or exciting happening? We'll just go around. Matthew?
I actually have some big news.
Uh-oh.
We are moving South Bend.
Oh my god.
No way.
No, you're not.
Heard it on the
Yeah.
pod.
Shit.
Pod
Wow.
eats first.
We are moving back to South Bend.
Holy
Amarillo's
crap.
got a job in South Bend. And
Does
so
everybody know?
No, you guys are the first to know of our friends.
Wow. She got a job in Notre Dame? Or
She got a
what?
job in Notre Dame, and so we're
Holy
moving back to South
smokes.
Bend. Her job starts the
About this
15th of June, but my lease is not up until the end of September, so I'm probably actually going to stay
Cheers.
here until my lease is up and kind of go back and forth for a bit. Just
Well-
because we both were like, she was like, you're in a cool city. South Bend's not the coolest of cities. Like, enjoy the rest of your, like, I don't know, like,
Whoa.
enjoy the rest of your time in Nashville because, like, you're paying for it anyway.
Yikes.
Well, yeah, you don't have very much longer to make it in your country music endeavors.
Exactly.
You're running out of time. So
I got to get those shows in.
well,
I'm touring with
Talking
Hudson
about Luke-
Valley, actually, next
Luke
month.
Combs was just in town. This is a country mecca.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
he
Yep.
played last weekend, I think. On Justin's
No.
birthday party night, maybe.
On my birthday party.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So yeah, we're closing up on that, and then
Wow.
I'm actually going to be in
Congratulations.
South Bend this weekend, but I probably won't have time to see you guys because we're going to go see the house, and then I'm going to Chicago on Sunday night, and then I come back on Monday. So I would have reached out, but I probably am not going to be able to have any
That's
time.
a lot of driving.
Yeah.
Or are you flying?
No, I'm driving. Probably just going to come back
Wow.
Friday night.
So is this like so you two are getting pretty serious then, huh?
Yeah. Very serious.
Can't wait
Yeah.
to see her name spelled out.
I am thrilled. The other day I was taking a sexual harassment course at work. It was not mandated. It was like, well, it was required for everybody, not just me. It was,
Sure, try and walk it back.
and it said
I'll edit
something
this
like,
video.
it like was doing a scenario, and it's like, your coworker Amaryllis sends you this text message saying blah 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 blah, and I was like, holy shit, I've never seen that name anywhere.
Me either. That's funny. So yeah, that's my big
All right.
other big news.
Oh boy, I don't know if I can drink
Unrelated.
anymore.
Maybe even bigger news. I
Okay.
took a Waymo on Sunday.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
How was
it was
it?
pretty sweet. Pretty freaking
And-
sweet. It felt like I was sitting in the future. I did. I made it. They're in Nashville as of last week. Like officially, you can take them. I'd seen them for the last like month because they've been like mapping out their routes and stuff, and been trying to figure out when I could actually take them. And they just opened last week, so I did it I did it yesterday. It was cool.
Nice.
It was like it
Tell
was
your-
kind of weird. It was like really good. It was responsive. I was a little nervous, like because they had picked me up in my neighborhood, and so like there are a lot of walkers and people crossing the street at stop signs. I was like, wonder if this thing is like how they're gonna handle that. It was pretty good. It starts to like when they know it's their turn, but there are still people walking. It like kind of starts to nudge like it's ready to go, but then realizes that there's something there, so it like stops. It jerks
did
you
the
a little
same
bit.
It's
thing.
revving its engine up. It's revving.
Yeah.
You do-
Watch out!
Come on,
And
let's
it's
go.
like it's not the smoothest either. Like when it comes to a stop, it doesn't ease into a stop as much as like a human would, where you just know when to like slow down. It kind of like slows down, but then when you get to the stop, you like it just felt kind of jerky.
It comes to complete stops is what it does. Humans don't do that.
Yeah, that could also be it. And it's electric, I think, so it's like it speeds up quickly, and so like when you start to go, you feel a little jerked because it
Just
doesn't
go.
like do it as gradually as a human would. It just like
Mhm.
presses on the pedal.
Oh.
It's also really slow because it actually like abides by the laws of the road. So it was like going
Yeah.
30 like the whole way.
and they're a little more expensive than normal Ubers, right?
Are they?
Yeah, the mine was a little more expensive. It was probably like $6 more than it would like an Uber would have been. But I wanted
Did
to
you
try
do it for the experience?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have driven wherever I was going, but I was like, hey, I want to try this thing out. So I just did it.
I just saw.
Is there a Waymo
um,
app? Is that how you do it?
Yeah. There's a Waymo app, but it's also you can also do it through I can't remember which service. I don't think it's Uber. I think who's the other one?
Lyft?
Lyft. I think
maybe
Lyft
Lyft
has like a
and Waymo.
deal with them. You can get them through Lyft. But I did it through the app because I downloaded the app like a couple weeks ago, wondering if I could actually start taking them. And they were like, "You have to wait. We don't have a date when we're going to do it." And then I just saw in the news like last week that they're like, "We're official. You can come and start taking them." I haven't seen anybody else actually take them. I don't know if people are hesitant or what. I've just seen them all over and like not people in the cars. But I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. Like, it's because when I was driving, everybody was like staring at the car. It was a little weird.
Were you in the passenger seat or in the back?
No, I sat in the back because I wanted to know what the experience was. I sat in the middle.
Yeah, I would too. You see, did it have like a screen in the back that told what kind of
Yes.
car was
I
it?
Here, I took videos. Let me send them to you guys. Let me see.
I just saw that Tesla robo taxis were released into the wild of Dallas yesterday, and but when they release them into a city, they do them for like 25% of the cost of an Uber. Like they're like dirt cheap,
Oh, they're cheaper.
at least for now. But I have to go to Dallas next week, and I was thinking that maybe I want to try to find one.
Why do
Is
you gotta go to
Waymo
Dallas?
is Waymo LiDAR
Yes.
for cameras? It's
LiDAR.
LiDAR only.
Yeah, so I forget what cars they're using. I'm sure Matthew will show us around if it's a Lexus
They're
or what it
Jags.
is, but Jag.
They're the Jag SUVs.
And
Jaguar?
it has the thing on the top
Yeah.
that does the LiDAR.
Here,
I think they have more than just the Jags. Like, pretty sure
They're all like
Saw-
decently
Pretty
nice
sure
cars.
they're Jag SUVs, so I thought they were all Jag SUVs. No,
I was in
they don't look like
Atlanta.
Jaguars. You wouldn't know they were a Jaguar if you saw them driving around, but it's like it's an SUV.
The Jaguar I-Pace.
It's like how all the sports cars and all like the high expensive nice brands, they all kind of start making SUVs now, even though they like made sports cars.
I like the Porsche SUV. It's a nice car.
Yeah, they like
Yeah.
those. I
too.
just sent them to you guys. There's a couple of videos and stuff in there, but yeah, it's got. It also just looks funny because it does have like all these monitors and things. It's got this like screen in the back when you're sitting there. That's like if you were sitting in the back and you were like the AC is coming out in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like a touch screen, and so you can actually like scan QR code, and I was able to hook up my music to it. So I was like able to play my own music when I was driving. So that was cool. They have all the different
Cool.
apps. Then they just have like their own music that you can pick from. Like I think it's hooked up to like iHeartRadio.
Huh.
But you can put the map in there. It like talks to you. I think in the first video I caught some of that, but it talks to you as like, here's your like welcome to Waymo. Enjoy your ride. Please buckle up. Here's the things you need to know, sort of stuff. And then it just kind of goes. The biggest confusion I have is just opening the door because they have those handles that like don't stick out, like they jut out when
The
you
Tesla
like press
handles.
something. So you actually on the app have to like hit unlock, and then the handles pop out, and then you can enter the car. I could not figure it out. I kept hitting the button, like the little one on there, like open, and it wouldn't. And then I looked at my app and was like, "Oh, okay." Hit the button, didn't open for me. And then it just took off, and I was like, "This is so cool."
Held on.
Yeah, and I held on to my life. We did run into a flashing red light, and that's why I was curious how it would handle that, and it handled it just fine. I was like, I wonder if it's going to be confused with this other car coming, and it was fine. They really did a good job.
I watched a video of some of them in China where they have a bunch of different brands and a ton of more than we have. And they're all like very aggressive over there. Like they seem to really have the controls turned down or up or whatever. Like they're willing to like take a lot more risks over there. I mean, this is like a random side street you're on here. Like this is, yeah. Speed bump.
Ooh, full stop right there.
Yeah, we're not rolling through the stop signs in the Waymo.
Dude, this is such a cool business. I think this is gonna take off, man.
Cool. Yeah. It's gonna be like the rise of the bird scooters. That's gonna be what it's like. There's gonna be so many of them. Be everywhere. Mm-hmm. Inside the cars. Uh, yeah. Where do you all stand
I'm
on the
looking into
whole Diana Rossini, Mike Vrabel situation?
So, can you guys explain that to me? I've been getting bits and pieces, and I don't understand what the hell's going on.
They were caught in not Scottsdale, Sedona, Arizona. They were. It looks very nice based on the pictures. They were caught in this resort, spending time canoodling at the pool.
And they're both married?
They're both married, and a spy caught them on camera. So she's now had to resign. Well, she basically she resigned, as she refutes it, but also resigned. So, but then she, like a couple days later, so just a few days ago, she rescued an elderly man and his dog from a car wreck, and that made a bunch of news. Yes, so random, so random. And then I guess Mike Vrabel's, yeah, I guess Mike Vrabel's gonna be fine.
Oh, okay. Now I understand the story.
So
Isn't there like a
I
double
mean, they
standard
weren't like
argument and like
there was
yeah.
the double standard argument, yeah.
Totally fair
So
play.
it's a little suspect. Yeah. Well, no, it is infidelity. It's infidelity.
Correct. Yeah. Infidelity. Unfaithful?
You're saying that they shouldn't lose, like, okay, but I think it's probably more of the fact that maybe she was unfaithful with a person in her working world, I guess, is more like, I think if she was unfaithful with like a random guy, I don't think that would be fireable, or that she would like step down from her job if it came out that she was cheating on her husband with like random guy. But I think because of who it was.
That's where I was going at. No. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's these inner company problems. Yeah. Even though like the Athletic and the Patriots are not the same company, but yeah, a few of them just had to step down. Eric Swalwell? Well, I think all these examples are people working inside of working with each other. I think that's the problem. Like Bill Clinton's working with his intern, and he was doing more than working with her. Well, I mean, here's an example. Donald Trump has been accused of doing all sorts of things with women who he doesn't work with, but it's not a fireable offense. Nothing's fireable. So this
Broke people's brains.
this guy, Eric Swalwell, bad guy, but he was in the news a long time ago for, well, he like apparently was doing some type of assaulting or bad behavior with women who worked for him. But before this, in 2020, he got in trouble for giving state secrets to a Chinese spy who he had working for him, whose name was Fang, and she's a Chinese spy. She like joined as an intern or something. I don't know. The CIA or somebody figured it out. I mean, I'm sure there are times when people have gotten fired for doing bad moral things that are unrelated to their work. So I would say it's accurate. Also, it's just bad publicity. Amen. Where do you guys stand on the Trump versus the Pope situation? And can you believe that everybody was all mad? Everybody was all mad about him posting that picture of him as a doctor? That's ridiculous. I mean, give the guy a break. He thought he was a Red Cross doctor.
Looked just like a doc. Had the stethoscope and everything. He was healing with his hands.
He had to delete that one, but he doesn't delete many, but he did delete that one.
When they asked him, that was so that was so funny though when he had to walk it back. He's like, he knew he was in the wrong, but he's like, well, I thought I thought it was a doctor. Just the way he said it, he knew he messed up and just had to like say that he knew he was caught in a lie that time. I think that was one of the few times where his response wasn't as belligerent. He kind of knew that he messed up. I don't know. I just thought his response was unlike Trump because he was he really messed up there.
Yep. I got him canceled.
Well, the timing of it was just like if he was not in a fight with the Pope, I mean that you might have been able to get away with it, but it was in the middle of the fight with the Pope. You're just like, brother, what a choice. That was something else. I think that one he wishes he had back, and he doesn't. I don't think he wishes he had many tweets back, but that one was probably one of them.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he has to.
I'll be really interested to see. It's going to be super interesting in how the things play out here in about a year and a half. Once we start arranging the pawns of who's going to be the next man up for the Republicans, because like I don't know. I think Vance will try to distance himself, and then Trump will start pushing Rubio. Maybe I don't know. Somebody's going to get like thrown under the bus for something. Like something's going to get stirred up. It's going to be a real disaster, and it's going to have one of their names on it, and that is not going to. Yeah, that is not going to be by accident that somebody takes a big fall for something. So I think at the end of the last episode, like a month ago, I said, would it last a week or something? And I said no, or no, two of us said it would be over and two said it would still be going. I think you and I said it would be
Yeah,
every day.
It's like I
Something
don't feel
new.
bad for President Trump because it just sounds ridiculous. But somebody trying to do diplomacy with an irrational actor, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't even matter if it's Iran. If you're just trying to figure an agreement out with just someone irrational, how the heck do you even do it? Like that is just crazy. I have no envy of like people at the table trying to make deals. I mean, we don't even know if the people that they are negotiating with have control over the people on the gunboats that are then going and closing the strait by themselves. Yeah, like it's a messed up situation. I'm like, oh, we killed, two sets of leaders. They're on to their third or fourth. I'm like, well, that also has a massive destabilizing effect where you don't even now you're negotiating with people that have no power. So it's an interesting dynamic where I think they're looking for an off ramp. I don't know if you can get an off ramp in the traditional sense of making a deal. If you just have destabilized the country so severely that now you just have independent factions within the country doing whatever they want and over such a critical waterway. I mean, you might have stirred a hornet's nest that I don't even know how you wargame that. How could they have seen that coming? Maybe I don't know, but I do not envy the position that they're in to try to end it. So that's why I think it's gonna drag on for at least another month.
Well, I guess if you're so to give the benefit of the doubt, which I don't think that we were really sold on this or presented the full story, but if you give the benefit of the doubt and say, all right, they're gonna, which here like the weapons of mass destruction, so like they have the nuke, like they're about to have it, like we have to do something about it. Okay, so if you believe that to be true, and then your options are, all right, we can go in, wipe all this out, wipe everything out. It's going to cause this destabilizing effect. And now we have all these fracture and factions of people. It presents its own problems, but at least you hit the organization, broadly speaking, that was working on this nuclear program. So maybe now they can't accomplish what they were trying to do with that. So like you slowed that program down, you created this other this other problem that's more of a widespread just shit show. So like I guess if you're posed with those two and you believe what I said to be true there first, that's a fundamental thing, then I suppose I'd rather just have like a you know anarchy, like craziness happening over there with like small little militias versus them having a full nuclear program. I'm not sold on that, but I feel like that is an argument that you could make, that like you're okay with actually what's happened. Now the question is like, how long do we stick around and fight the little fights?
Do you guys remember? I think I called this out in one of our episodes where I was like, I wonder if we miscalculated the timing of doing this because right, you now hear them saying, oh, they killed 40,000 people before before we went in and smashed their heads in. Well, I think I called it out in an earlier episode. I was like, I wonder if we missed the timing where those were the people that would have rose up at a time like now to form a coalition government, or not a coalition, but like form some sort of government. And unfortunately now it's to the point where those people aren't there and the people that are left are not the same. They don't want to rise up. They don't have the same ambition. I don't know what the word is exactly to be a revolutionary, but so now we're kind of in this waiting game where there's a possibility where what we hope will happen will just never happen. So you just have the IRGC sitting there, the Revolutionary Guard sitting there indefinitely because there's no one else there to take the power vacuum. because what you need guns to start a revolution, and every time the United States gives guns to people, it always turns out stabbing us in the back. So
They end up
I
using
think
them on us.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the off ramp's gonna look like. Maybe it is just leave. I don't know what happens to the strait at that point. If one gunboat with an RPG on it can shut down the whole strait, what are you gonna do? Like, there's hundreds or if not thousands of miles of coastline. I don't. I just feel bad for the people trying to, like the generals, where they're gonna say like, yeah, we have to patrol this 24/7. It's gonna cost millions of dollars per day, billions of dollars every month.
Billions. They spent like $300 billion on this.
So makes you question. A lot of them are educated in the U.S., which is just interesting.
It's not even. We're just doing it for the rest of the world. Like, we don't
It's kind of
actually even get
interesting.
anything from the strait.
Yeah. That
I mean, there's like inputs. Well, like the oil that goes through there does go to countries who make things that we buy.
I do wonder if they miscalculated or were relying on some sort of coalition to form, in what was it, in the Iraq War, we had a lot of countries come together and help us out with that.
Because we had very visible evidence of what we were fighting for.
Exactly. And it wasn't really surprised as much either. That was kind of a well planned out and many, many months in the making. So I wonder if they miscalculated that. Now that we're there by ourselves. We're like, yeah, we don't really need this, but do you guys want to like step in? And even China, don't you kind of care, seeing as like ton of your oil comes from this place? But
I'm
he's gonna have to declare a win somehow. He's
he's been trying, I feel like
message. Yeah.
Every chance he's trying to, beat the drum of how great it is, but nobody's really buying it, I don't feel like yet. And I'm more interested in how like every president somehow gets dragged in or convinced by the war machine or somebody. Like, who are these deep state people who, and I like sound like I would have never talked like this before. I've really changed my tune on this, I think. But like, who, I've just seen it over and over. Who is convincing every president, even this president who forever has been saying that he is not going to go to war, not putting us in these overseas conflicts, America first. Like, what is getting it infiltrated into the Oval Office in every administration that makes the president go to the Middle East? Like, I don't get it. I'm more so buying that this like Israel theory of like they just kind of drag us into this stuff. Like they say, we're doing this, so like come
provide the
help us,
intel.
or yeah, or you're not, either help us before or help us after, because you're gonna have to come to our aid, once we get started here. So do you want to just be involved up front? And we end up then thinking like, okay, well, I guess we have to do it, and we just kind of get goaded into it. Like, I think that's one thing. But I also like, I don't know who, it just amazes me how we can get into these situations. I don't know if it's like a legacy thing at some point too. Like if you're the president, you realize you have 2 years left and you're like, how am I going to leave my mark on this? Like, what did I accomplish? And the first thing that all your aides say is, well, you could go and solve the Middle East problems, that'd be great. It's like, okay. Cuba. We're going to Cuba. He put out the thing saying we're ready for our next.
Yeah,
our
like,
troops are pulling back and
I
getting
wonder
ready
if
for our
he's-
next mission.
I wonder if he's like a little upset. He's like, yeah, I know. I did the Iran thing, and that's gonna be over with. But my cherry on top of all this is gonna be liberating Cuba. But now he's behind schedule. He's like, this stupid Strait of Hormuz keeps closing. Everyone's blaming me for the gas prices. Side question. They're also touting, oh yeah, a ton of people are coming to the U.S. for all this oil. They're going to get all the oil from us. Isn't that kind of like a backwards thing? Because we're paying higher oil prices, but we're exporting more oil. Like, am I missing something there? Is there, like, shouldn't that oil be going
to make
to
just
us
to America
first?
to make our oil prices
Like,
go down?
lower
in
these
America?
prices first, and then if you need excess, then I guess you sell.
Right, the oil price
I think
actually
it's like
went
a
up
backhanded.
because,
Yeah, we're exporting so much oil.
yeah,
Okay, but I just paid a shit ton for oil.
yeah.
Like, what?
It's like
What are you doing?
No, it's like the drug industry. We pay the most for the drugs because we make the drugs and then we ship them overseas.
The more I learn about that, the crazier that is as well. Like, they depend on the United States to make the shit ton of money on the drugs, and then those drugs get sold for dirt cheap in other countries. Just like, dang, that kind of stinks.
You know how much it costs to have a baby? Yeah. The bill was like, this was before the insurance, but what they would have charged was $35,000 to have a baby. We were there for Monday night, Tuesday night, 2 nights. 2 nights. Like, what? Yeah. Insane. We're hitting all the topics.
Well, if you, yeah, we don't have to dive into it, but if you had to pick a top 5 worst things about the United States, I think you can make an argument for the healthcare system being the number 1 worst thing about the United States. Is just how much power that is in the insurance companies and like the prices being charged for healthcare here. Like, I'm not even arguing for, like, a single payer system, like, there's pros and cons to that, but just the way that it is done in the United States is just unbelievably not consumer friendly in my eyes, and so it's just yeah.
I think it's that, and then it's not only like the doctors and the healthcare, but also the type, like the care that is provided. Whenever we went down this path of um reactive care instead of like preventative care, that was a real problem, which probably was very much influenced by like the drug industry, honestly. Right, because like that we needed to make all of these drugs to treat things instead of actually treating the cause. And then that is like a self-fulfilling prophecy of the medical system, because then you're using the system more and insurance can charge more, and it just is a doom loop. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've said that I'm a complete capitalist except for when it comes to food regulation. Like I think that, I mean, the stuff is like poison. A
Well, do you
lot,
think are you
I
just
mean,
food or FDA in general, right? Like the FDA,
the
do you think
FDA
needs
has
to
been
be
too loose.
too loose?
Yeah.
Well, isn't colon cancer one of the strangest rising phenomenons in young people in the United States? And it just
Mm-hmm.
seems like the stepping stone just seems so basic, is like probably the food we're eating is causing these bad things in our colons. So it's kind of discouraging to think about in that sense. And you look for a scapegoat, you're like, you don't want to say capitalism, but at the same time, like unregulated capitalism historically has proven to be have some nasty side effects. So it's I think we've maybe have gone and not regulated enough in the sense of like health, and like I guess people say, oh well, you can always make the choice to buy organic. I just That argument just kills me, because first of all, organic doesn't always mean that they don't have, they're still not somehow tainted, but the price is just like unattainable for a lot of people. You can't, you just buy organic. Like, okay, that's way easier said than done in most households. So I don't know. That argument always just kills me. It's like, well, you have a choice. I'm like, well, yeah, sure, but then I'm also sacrificing other stuff. So it's just kind of
All you
interesting.
need to know, go ahead. I was gonna say, all you need to know about all this is that the number one purchased product on food stamps is pop or soda, however you call it. I mean,
Coke. My wife and I have started to do that a lot more this past year.
oh yeah.
About my mango cart. It's good.
I mean, you can just trace all of this back to like heart disease, number one leading cause of death. Like, where? Okay, why does that happen? Oh, because we have a bunch of people that have too much fat, generally speaking. Sam's trying to rejoin us, and then now they're in the act. Sam,
Welcome back, man.
we've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole here. We're dissecting the healthcare system and the food chain, and we also already talked to Ron. But it's disgusting. We let all of this horrible food, which our soil is trash. We let the food become trash. Even if you think you're buying a grape, I had this grape the other day. It was like this big, had like no flavor, was like a melon basically. It was junk, and who knows what in the world that's had on it. You buy this stuff, you buy your Pop Tarts or whatever, and you become fat, and then you end up in the hospital, and then you end up on Ozempic, and then you end up, on wherever, and then you just keep repeating. I mean, it is unbelievable. That would be if I could fix something, if I had a genie in a bottle, that would be something that would be top of priority for me. Yeah, that's the problem. You literally would. It's become such a, yeah. It's become that it's yeah. You're reliant on it, and then you can't get rid of it, and you just have to keep growing it.
Maybe that's what
Now,
we
I
need
don't
Sam
mind
to
having
lead.
access. I don't mind having access to the best doctors in the world, like found. But I'm like of the person who you were saying earlier that like I do go to the doctor. I can get to the doctor. Like I have the means to afford to have a baby. Sam, it costs $35,000 to have a baby, like without insurance. That's pretty crazy. Say, I don't know what I was just saying, but anyway, like you have the means, so it's fine, and I like it because I don't want to be in a country where I'm like having to wait, 10 years to see a proctologist. But that's anyway, it's not the same for everybody. especially, especially with America 250 fast approaching.
I guess, I mean, I would start with capitalism as a former, like, diehard capitalist, now reformed. But I think we've got to go further back because you can't just, like, change capitalism, I think you've got to change the means with which you have the ability to change things. Like, I think if you approach anybody and say, let's change our capitalist system, you'd be like, you can't. Like, there's too much tied up into it. That would be catastrophic. It would be the end of the United States as a whole. So you can't, I would say, change capitalism by just like changing it. But maybe you could change the way with which I'm trying to get down to the root of like where power and decision comes from. And, you know, if this is something that people actually want, then to give people the power to actually affect some kind of change. I think that changing capitalism would necessarily like change healthcare. Like you were just saying, there's too much money tied up in it. So like you're not going to fix healthcare because there's so much money, but that's because of capitalism. Okay, I got it. Inflation.
Right.
If we can, and that's a simple one because we don't have to change the whole capitalist system. No. If we just change from being an inflationary country to being deflationary, it would be extremely painful. It would be terrible in many, many regards. But in some regards, it would be much better because people wouldn't be forced to be profit seeking and extractive in nature of our resources, of the planet and of each other, people, and of our time. I think that it would cause a revaluation towards things that are, I guess, more human centric and shift away from what like the I guess the inflationary outputs that we all live sort of oppressed under. So yeah, inflation.
What would be the if we were deflationary, you would essentially now have, I mean, so the entire economy would just shrink every year by definition. So you would have less, like, what are the good things here? Because it feels like there's a lot of bad things. You would have less jobs, you would have less investment in things, you would have less innovation, you would have less goods. I mean, like, everything would be less.
Well, inflation is having more dollars, like in simple terms, there being more dollars every year than existed prior. So every year following, your dollar is worth proportionally less because it's one of a larger bucket, right? Yeah, taking money out of the system, or I guess I don't know enough about how Japan's negative interest rate system worked, but that felt like a deflationary system for a while. And they had a hurt economy for a long, long time, and they've just now started to go to a positive interest rate. So I don't know enough to speak to that, but yeah, that's essentially what it would be, is to have either lower supply of money or have the interest rate be negative and pay people to keep
The thing
money, I
about
guess.
negative interest rates is that actually means more money goes into, like,
does-
because you literally have, if, am I thinking about this right? Like, you're not getting any, you have to pay the bank to take your money with a negative interest rate. So I would rather, so it's even worse, like, it's worse. So like today the bank pays me to keep my money there. In a negative interest rate world, I have to pay the bank to hold my money. And so I'd rather have my money in the stock market.
I mean, in my simple brain, that kind of, I'm in favor of what you just said. Like right now, all of our money is in the bank's hands or in BlackRock's hands, and they choose how to deal with their money. But if a negative interest rate incentivizes me to retain my own dollars and spend them personally, or put them underneath my mattress and save for a rainy, because in a deflationary environment, every year your money is worth more than it was the prior year. So that's why it's harmful to economies, because it disincentivizes spending. Why would I buy this blender today for $50 if tomorrow I could buy it for $45 because my dollar is going to be worth more? And so people just stop spending money and start holding on to their money, which causes fewer sales, fewer jobs. Austin's totally correct. It's negative in a lot of like pro-economy ways, but I think the point that I'm trying to make is that we've been so economy driven for so long that we've done it at a detriment to things like healthcare or to quality of product or to quality of life. And I think that it's really like the root of many of the issues in America. Like you look at the manipulation happening in the stock market or the gambling markets, like everything is so money focused, needing to drive bigger and bigger profits, that I think that that sort of works against what the actual humans involved want, other than wanting more money.
Can you guys explain to me, like, what would it look like? Because in a deflationary environment, so your wages wouldn't go up, but prices wouldn't go up. So in theory, is it possible to find a stasis point where everything stays the same? Like everybody's content with their wages, everybody's content with the profits they're making, like they're not trying to make another
No.
percent higher next year. Is that like what dies
No.
in that environment? Is that just
Innovation
dies? Is that technically the thing?
Innovation dies. You have now, because you basically describe stagflation, or not really, like reverse stagflation. I don't even know what the term would be, but you're never going to get to a place where, like, what if you don't have any the profit incentive? While we can make the arguments about the issues with capitalism, the profit incentive is the thing that has created all the innovation, which has driven all of the profits that we have all reaped the benefits of. So without, like, I would say, like, yeah, we, especially today, can think of inflation as a really bad or harmful thing, and it maybe feels like it's the, constant fight, but like in some ways, like that is the thing that has kept the motivation and investment happening for all of these years. And like you need, because if I what I didn't say about, like, when I'm investing in this, if I'm taking my dollars and putting them into the market, well, I'm probably investing in a company whose now future cash flows look a lot worse, because every year they're having to either deflate their price, or people aren't spending their dollars to buy the thing anymore, because their wages aren't going up. And so you need some sort of, this is why I have a hard time like figuring out the right solution, because you need some type of inflation to actually keep the economy building up and up. Well, but also, like, we have also seen some things like technology be extremely deflationary over time. Like, as you invest more in the technology, price of the technology comes down. So yeah, so it's not always like a one-way street.
Yeah.
And even if you didn't have like the US dollar, you could still have inflation, because you'd have some type of, like, any currency,
Any
I
fiat
feel like, just
currency.
naturally has, like, even if you had gold, or you had, right, like, you're going to be finding more gold, or you're going to be
Yeah, but
mining
with
more
gold,
gold.
there's a fixed amount of gold that exists on the planet. Whether or not you can mine more, there's only so much gold. Whereas with the dollar, you could just print more dollars.
Yeah, maybe the problem is what, back in the 80s or 70s when they got off the gold standard?
Yeah.
19.
Is
I
that
mean,
like,
that made it easier, I guess, to control the levels of inflation, probably. But it's not to say that I don't think
maybe
like,
the
there
fix is just
was
we need the Fed to focus on
inflation
one
before.
thing instead of having a two
Only a single mandate? Which of the two mandates would you pick? Would it be to have inflation at 2% or unemployment?
Well, no, it would have to be inflation, because like at the end of the day, it's not the Fed's job who's hiring. It's the economy in general is going to be the one that determines how many jobs there are. What's the Fed's going to pump money, I guess, but like,
Yeah,
they're
this is
not hiring.
totally talking out of my ass, and I could be totally wrong. Listeners, please feel free to bash me of my ignorance here, but I'm thinking that an inflationary environment and a Fed that is supportive of the economy leads to an unhealthy economy that is artificially supported, and that causes asset bubbles, like we see with the AI bubble, or we saw with 2008 in the housing crisis, or what we're seeing today with the private credit bubble. I think that the effect of having inflation is overinvestment, and it causes companies that aren't prudent with their dollars to be able to survive. Like a deflationary environment will cause only the healthiest companies to survive. It will trim a lot of the fat, such as AI bubble kind of crap. And I think that it's net going to be a positive after you get through all of the bloodshed. So it's like one of those things that I can't like genuinely support. If somebody tomorrow was going to say like, let's switch to a deflationary environment, like I would have a hard time supporting that, even though like I know I talk about inflation being the devil, because there's like a lot of families that like you don't get a wage cut, you get fired in a deflationary environment. And part of what I'm saying is that that's like the kind of thing that sort of needs to happen to get back to a healthy sort of state. Like we kind of just effed ourselves by going down this path and sort of wrote our own doom sentence. But the alternative is like eventually that's going to happen, because like you're running out of value that you can artificially inflate. And I mean, even if you just look at the US debt clock, like the inflation is something that can't really be stopped once it gets started. So I'm not necessarily saying like let's flip the clock, but it's just going to happen. Yeah, recessions. Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah, but if you were to look back and say, okay, over the last 100 years, you're going to have 3 recessions or something, like you would take where we are to, if it was 1900 and you said, hey, over the next 400 years, you're going to have the Great Depression, you're going to have the Great Financial Crisis, you're going to have 2000 tech bubble, you're going to have an AI bubble in 2027. Like, okay, but like, look at how much more wealth in the country has been created over that time. Like, you would take that versus saying like we should just stay here. So I think like all these bubbles, yes, they suck because they eventually pop, but the bubble itself actually is the thing that helps the technology drive forward. Like right now, the fact that all of this investment is going into AI and all of these startups that vast majority will fail are spending a bunch to iterate and figure out what works and what doesn't and move the technology forward is ultimately like that's a good thing, because that means once the bubble pops and like the fat gets trimmed, you're left with the whatever at the top. The cream rises to the top. Same thing happened in the internet bubble. Like you had every company in the world in 1999 as a .com, and a lot of it failed. But then look what's happened now, 20 years later. So I think you need the investment bubble creates the right landscape for the technology to happen and move forward, which is a good thing.
It's a productivity-driven deflation where you stand still in order to move backwards rather than running to keep up kind of inflation. Where if you can stand still, not continue to inflate, but you increase productivity, that's still a deflationary environment where you're no longer inflating your dollars, but you're producing more. That's net deflationary. And that causes companies to cut waste. It makes debt more expensive, so it makes people to make harder decisions as far as what they're investing in. There's less speculative investment and speculative leverage, and I don't know. There is a case for a deflationary environment. Yeah, it needs to be in this sort of productivity-driven space rather than demand driven, where I think like the debt clock that I mentioned earlier, where there's like so much demand for dollars and we just keep printing, or like we need to cut down to like revalue the dollar. I don't know. or cut interest rates to be negative. Like a lot of these different methods I think can be harmful and shock the system. But if we just like stop inflating but continue to increase our productivity through tools like AI, I think that there's a way to like deflate our currency. It causes consumers to save more rather than to rely on consumer credit, which we've talked about I think on podcast like 16 or something, like the burrito bubble, people just relying on consumer credit to no end. I haven't looked recently, but I know that credit card debt is like higher than the '08 recessions. I know that like consumer credit is a major issue, and that's a result of like low interest rates and high inflation. It relies people to rely on credit.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's be clear for the young listener out there that's thinking about how to spend their money. There's a big difference between being Elon Musk and borrowing against your Tesla shares to live off of that and pay a low interest rate against that versus using your credit card to buy Chipotle every day.
And I think it is a positive in a healthy economy to have access to credit. And I think that's where you look at a system like gold, where eventually people are like, we can't build that building because there's no money available to do it. And that's where people are like, well, I'll loan you my money. I'll free up this capital to allow you to build this building. And that creates productivity and it creates jobs, sort of like Austin's talking about, or allow you to start your business. So a healthy amount of credit, I think, is good. But I think that the issue comes when credit becomes so prevalent in people's lives that nobody owns anything anymore. And like nobody owns their houses. Very few people own assets in general. And of the people who own assets, a lot of those assets' values are disconnected from reality in the first place. Like you may own stocks, good for you, you've got some assets, but those assets are disconnected from the fundamental value of the underlying stocks. And that's a direct relation to inflation and to the availability of credit, because you can just pump up the value of these companies beyond what their actual discounted cash flows are worth, because there's this expectation that there's more and more money into the market. So I think that there is a level that it's unhealthy to have so much credit within a system. So yeah, you're right, Matt. Like it is healthy and important that companies have that countries have access to credit, and it is like part of what built this nation and made it so incredible. But it's also part of what is becoming sort of a drag on us as consumers. You know, that our job now is to consume and to pay more for our Netflix subscriptions every 2 months, and to to tie it
Hey,
in.
there's these things that are called sticks. They have every TV show you ever need on them. I don't
Yeah, you
own
wouldn't
one.
use one of these, would you?
I don't own one, but I know a
Just
person who
hear about
does, and they rave about it.
Now, do they update so like you can get last night's sitcoms?
I think these companies are gonna hit another wave of piracy. Like piracy was really big in the early 2000s and like sites. What was that? LimeWire. LimeWire was big. Popcorn Time was a little later, but I think we're gonna see another, not a, I don't know, maybe a golden age of piracy, where it just becomes really easy to access those things. But not to get off a tangent on there, but like
It's a
I
good.
think that is gonna come in.
Did you hear about the new Anthropic model, Mythos, that's too dangerous to release to the public?
I thought it was fascinating. The one story I read that was about that, how I forgot the government guy, but he basically went to this bank CEOs immediately and said, "This program is so good at finding security vulnerabilities in your softwares that I don't know if he said basically you have to use this to protect yourself or just beware of what's coming." It's going to be like a brave new world when it comes to
So they
these
gave
models.
Matthew, did you hear about this or no? So Anthropic, who owns Claude, came out with this video and like this announcement that they have a new model called Mythos that is they deemed it too powerful to release to the general public because apparently they ran it against or they tested it and basically found that it basically could go into pretty much any piece of legacy software and find these, what are they called, zero day
CVEs, just major
vulnerabilities.
security vulnerabilities.
To like shut down, so to hack whatever it wanted, like every type of old healthcare system or banks, etc. So they said, well, we better not release this out to the public and let China grab this or anybody else grab this and use it. So they gave it to like a handful of the biggest companies in the country and said, go work with this for 6 months and like go try to solve however much you can of all these vulnerabilities. The question though is they've been suspect of pulling some marketing stunts before and like kind of overselling what they were releasing. So there's like a question of is this all true or not, or is it just kind of a scare tactic? But the other thing that people are arguing about, it's like we're not AI is already incredibly unpopular, but then we do things like release like a scare video, basically like a hype scare video about how our new AI model is, so powerful that you can't even have access to it. And so I don't, who knows what to believe. But
I mean, to be fair, right, there have been reported and people have gotten in trouble now for like firebombing Sam Altman's house and like there are people now,
multiple death threats.
No, like somebody threw a Molotov cocktail
at his house. So like
somebody in
Indianapolis,
got their one of the city councilmen or something, Councilman Indy, had a note left and got their house shot up about a data center.
No more data centers.
Well, and then like you gotta be careful with that guy because when these like when companies get this big, they go to the government. They want to be regulated. They want because it's good for them because they're in the best position.
It creates a regulatory moat, makes it impossible for any competitors to join.
Right. So that's why you're hearing like them start to talk like that, like Sam Altman be the same way. But I don't know where I was going with that. Eventually, though, you also should ask, like, if you're releasing this model, it's too dangerous for people to have. Like, why should anyone have it? Shouldn't the U.S. government own it? Like, when is the U.S. government going to say we should actually control all the AI? And this is now a state-run AI. Like AI is now controlled by.
Department
Well,
of
they could
Energy.
just take the Department of Energy. Well, they can just sweep. They should just sweep up these these companies and make them.
They probably use the CIA and like indict some of the top people as criminals and then force them to work for them and also steal all of their code and create their own like secret.
Well, they are definitely making
programs.
all the AI. Like these AI companies are working with the CIA for sure already, and using them probably again, like definitely using them against our adversaries. Brave new world.
I expect.
What else do we need to cover? Sam, how's your gardening project going? The AI garden.
Yeah, I realized after building the
That's a
I
good
built
one.
the
You
I
need to get
built
a
the
yard
whole
sign.
No, I moved away from it because I built the whole thing and I realized that at the end of the day it just comes down to personal taste. So instead of building out this whole thing, I was just like, maybe I just want this flower here.
Yeah.
The
You
human
decided
aspect.
you actually didn't want it to tell you what to do. Yeah. It's a good point. Like it can do all the things for you, but then you might not, you might not care for what it tells you. And so then you have to decide if you want to be your own person still, or you want to completely go into the void and let it run your life. So would she like to join the show sometime? I mean, we're
Oh man, she would put me in the dirt.
we sound like idiots, but that'd be actually fun. Like she could just be like our fact check. Like, okay, we'll talk for 5 minutes,
She'd
and
be
then you
interesting
go
to
fact
try
check
and press. Yeah, to quiz.
How any of this works.
So anyway, what'd she do? Wait, you were telling us something about her. Or you were just gonna say she's an economics professor. Okay. Okay. Yeah. But then we would have to argue if we actually believe in economics as it is in the book.
It's a fair point. Maybe
Like,
he needs to have that conversation.
where does she fall in the whole invisible hand idea? Okay. That would be awesome. We can get a link into DC. You're finally coming with something here. Episode 21. We finally have a link into DC. Jesus, all right. We're finally potentially going to make influence in Washington DC. We're taking the podcast to Capitol Hill. That's fine.
I had a Tesla Gigafactory worker say why he hasn't been invited to the podcast.
Really?
Kinda.
Did he move
Yes.
back to start working there?
No. I mean, he doesn't work there anymore, but he was
Oh,
saying
previous
previous.
employee.
Correct.
Is that Jake?
Brought
Bring
that
him
up on the
on.
weekend.
He
You
was
guys
at
gonna
the
have me on?
party? Jesus
What do you got
Christ,
against
man.
Jake, Austin? Jeez, man.
He's just an internet friend now.
Yeah, just a virtual hologram.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, I have a real out there. This is my idea I've been trying to tell you guys for like 2 months. That's super out there. So don't have your smart friends listen to this part because they won't want to come on. But, all right. So you know how like nothing is actually real? Like everything is just
Yes.
Whoa.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys have switched spots.
Yeah, I'm gonna sound like Sam here. But like everything is just like molecules that are together to form the thing that we are seeing or touching. Like they're all just atoms that
Get
are really
smaller and
floating
smaller.
in the world. And we form them into things that we can see. But like even when you're touching, like I always think it's weird when like you're touching somebody else, you're actually like not touching them. You're just touching like the makeup of all their atoms that happen to be in this form of a human.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm thinking about this and I'm like, all right, our brain, and it's funny that today is 420. I am not under the influence of any type of substance. But yeah, it's also Earth Day, I think. Fun fact. I'm also thinking, okay, well, that means our brains are really just a makeup of atoms as well. And why do I believe that everybody's brain is exactly the same, or that everybody's brain interprets what they are experiencing in the same way, right? Like how, there are certainly like some subtle ways that like we are all different. But aren't there potentially also little like differences in our brain to where we then could potentially observe things differently? And okay, so if that's true, well then couldn't it be true that Matthew and I both see or are standing potentially in the same thing, observing something the same, and have two completely different observations of what we are seeing, of how our brains arranged those atoms in front of us? And isn't that then right? Because you just like perceive, like someone told you what red was, someone taught you what red was, but exactly. And so is this then not just the source of all disagreement in the world? Like of all conflict? Could it just be that we all genuinely experienced something differently than someone else, and then that caused a conflict that turned into, was Jesus real? Like, or I don't know, does Iran have nuclear bombs? Did two people see something, the same thing, and interpret it differently, and then that caused these huge conflicts that we've had in the world over, thousands of years, all because our brains are just slightly tweaked differently.
Like, was Archduke purposely shot, or was the gun accidentally discharged?
Who's Archduke?
Trigger one.
Just forgot.
Wait, you were in is it Croatia? Serbia.
Was it 420 and you were a little sidetracked? Okay, anyway, does anybody buy my argument?
Well, there's an interesting story that I know about. He was a serial killer. Total normal dude. I think he was an accountant. And one day he started murdering people. And I think he killed like 12 people. And he left a note, a suicide note that said, "Please dissect my brain. Something is wrong with me. I don't know what. and his brain was dissected, and sure enough, he had a tumor that pressed up against his pituitary gland that caused him to be hyper aggressive. And so, sort of out of nowhere, he started murdering people that he knew. And before it was revealed that he had this tumor, people thought that he was a terrible guy. Like, he should have gotten the death sentence. He should have been arrested. Like, we should have found him terrible. And then you find out that he had this tumor that caused him to be unnecessarily aggressive. And it changes the tune a little bit, where now it's still terrible that he did the thing, but it's sort of like, oh, that's too bad for that guy. Like, that, like, he got this tumor and like he did these terrible things that he didn't want to do. And at a certain level, Austin, back to your point, we're just a bunch of atoms. We're changing all the time. Maybe it's a tumor, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like some experience that you had as a child that changed the way that your neurons connected, and that changed the whole trajectory of your life, that made you perceive something as aggressive that other people didn't perceive as aggressive. And so that makes you an aggressive person. And with the case of a tumor, it's something concrete that you can say, this person is the way that they are because they had a tumor that pressed up against the pituitary gland and made them aggressive. But when it really comes down to it, we're all different from the moment that we are born. Every single experience shapes who we are and how we perceive every following moment. And because of those changes, your reality, my reality, it's not too different from sickness. It's not too different from having a tumor up against your pituitary gland, where while there's genuine understandings of like how people should act and you shouldn't kill your neighbor, whether somebody sees something as blue and it's blue, or actually it's green, or whether somebody says something and it's offensive but somebody else thought that it was funny, when it all comes down to it, it's just differences in our chemical makeup and how our brains are perceiving things and what reality is to that person. And who am I to judge what your reality is, or what experiences led you to that point that made you feel a certain way about a situation? Or who am I to judge whether or not you have a tumor on your pituitary gland? But I guess the point is that I totally agree with you that people's brains are totally different. And we have a society where we sort of meld all of that together and have this like sort of abstract rule set that we all follow. But at the end of the day, yeah, we're different and we have different perceptions of reality completely. I totally agree with you.
No, I have not.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, didn't he? I saw he's got him, like, he got him to, yeah.
Psychedelics.
Yeah.
We're all connected,
Yeah,
man.
So, uh, yeah, it was funny. So the argument that was made when I pitched this to Victoria was that, well, then you're just basically, you're now allowing people, you're allowing shitty people to do shitty things and giving them an excuse. And I was like, yeah, I mean, at some point, I don't know, like, how you draw that line, because there is something that could have, like, certainly made that person do that thing that goes against everything or that I would believe in, but you don't know what that person is perceiving when they potentially do it, or what they've perceived that made them do it. But I don't want to give a terrorist the benefit of the doubt either, right? Like, I don't want to say, like, oh, well, they just have, they just had a neuron misconnected and now they're, gonna be a car bomber. But the funny thing is that whatever, like, not funny thing, the thing that radicalized them to make that decision is sort of like a mental blip that all then, like, goes back to probably some sort of religious dispute over who knows what. So I don't know. It's like these things are,
yeah, but who's to say that your perception isn't the mental blip and theirs is actually the correct one? I think the point is
that's right,
that there is still free will and there is still morality. I think that something that holds is like not harming others. Like the golden rule, I think, is a genuinely good rule of do unto others as you would do unto yourself. But I think the bigger and broader point is to limit the judgment and the amount of like repercussions that you enforce onto other people. While somebody may act differently than you and in a way that is immoral to like harm them for it, maybe is immoral on your part, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they did a good thing. Maybe they had a neuron misfire, maybe they were radicalized, maybe they had a tumor on their brain. I don't think it gives anybody a license to do something that is quote unquote immoral, but I think that it is more important on the viewer to understand the position in which they are in to not pass judgment.
Empathy. I was literally thinking that. I was like, God, if we had like a psychiatrist or whatever on here, they'd be like, you idiots. This is like so obvious.
We should go to a group therapy session just to see how it goes.
Hence me just figuring out I'm 29 years old and I'm just having this like, what if you were like, what if you felt this way about when somebody did this thing?
It's hard. You only have your perspective. Like, that's all that you ever have. So it's very hard to understand other people's perspective. Mm-hmm.
There's always the thing of like the person like speeds around you and honks and you get all pissed, but then you realize they were rushing their kid to the hospital because they were having an issue or whatever. It's like, okay, I don't know. Can you like then are you just getting pushed around though and you're letting everybody be a dick to you? But
Well, I was reading a book actually that kind of goes into that example is a good one, right? Like, let's pretend you're giving a business presentation and someone laughs in the back, and a lot of people's
You shoot them in the head.
first opinion is like, that person's laughing at me and that makes me angry. But like, let's take a step back. So as soon as you hear that laughter, you create a story in your mind. Like right up before you even feel an emotion, you're like, laughter means they're making fun of me.
I
And then
screwed
you
up.
feel an emotion. So kind of going along that email line, you read that email, you make a story of it, and then you feel an emotion. So it's like the uniquely human aspect is that we can control those stories. Those stories aren't written in stone that you have to interpret them a certain way. So that just goes your entire life. Like any type of interaction, you can technically rewrite that story that let you add to any other person's action before you feel an emotion, and it will, that impacts your emotion to what's going on.
I love that. I think we are constantly telling ourselves stories about what is going on. I think recognizing that you are telling yourself a story is very hard to do. Like we spend most of our lives living within the story. And to be able to recognize that you are telling yourself a story about whatever it is you're perceiving, I think really unlocks a pretty big calm and awareness of everything that's going around you that prevents you from, when somebody laughs at you while you're telling a speech and you get a hot flash of anger, like you're just aware you're telling yourself a story about the situation of who you are and who that person is and what this situation is. Yeah, I think that's huge, Justin, is that we're all telling ourselves stories, constantly trying to make sense of this constant stream of data and senses that we've got.
I mean, I don't want to replace my newfound realization of what empathy is with saying that I don't believe in hard work. We're earning what.
I'm not a liberal.
Yeah, yeah. Let's be careful here. I mean, I see your point. I actually think it's not very empathetic to want to live in a socialist society either. I think that it's not very empathetic to want to depress everybody equally. I think it's more, I mean, I could make the argument that it's more empathetic to actually give people opportunity to go and earn and grow and be great. Not saying that that's what the Republican Party does perfectly, but I guess I don't know. I would not probably say that if we're using the term empathy to qualify some sort of moral high ground, I wouldn't necessarily say that the Democratic Party has earned that reputation.
I feel like that's how I would describe the political parties in 2012. And post 2012 into 2016, I think I view that more as political party branding more than what they actually stand for and what they actually do. They're institutions that are there to get votes and to get elected and not necessarily actually effectuate things. So the platforms that they stand for, I think, are more branding and means to which gain power and control than they are things that they actually stand for. I don't really feel like the Republican or Democratic parties, as a party, really care for us as citizens at all. I think that they care mostly about power within the US government and retaining that power. And I think that in a perfect system, they would care about us because without us, they have no power. But I feel like the individual's power has been diminished such through any number of ways that it no longer really matters what the individual thinks, because I think that we are under the control of the algorithm and what news we receive as to what our opinion is as and whether or not we have an opinion, we vote on it, and how the Electoral College actually elects our leaders and our direct line of connection to the leaders and our control over what they do once they're in office. I think all of those are very, very weak to the point that it doesn't really matter what the individual thinks beyond the point of actually getting these people into power. So I think like post 2012, like once 2016 came around and Trump entered the scene, I think things got shaken up quite a bit, like internally within the government and within the political parties, to the point that, yeah, there was some branding that the Democratic Party was more empathetic and they were more towards social programs. Like I remember people saying, oh, I'm socially conservative or socially liberal, but fiscally conservative. And I'm more like Republican as far as these policies, but more like Democratic as far as these policies. I don't know. I think both the parties are shams. I think that both of them, both of the platforms that they stand for, don't actually do anything for the American people. Most of what Congress does is kick the can down the road and continue to pass budgets to put money into pockets of like large institutions like oil if you're Republicans, or if you're Democrats. I don't know. I guess what's the counterpart to oil if you're a Democrat for Republicans?
I mean, they're getting plenty of lobbying from healthcare and tech and I mean, there's plenty of lobbyists in
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Ro Khanna has been on the greatest stock trading run. He's traded like $600 million worth of assets over the course of this year, and
Is that a
he's
congressman?
yes, California. He's doing better than Nancy Pelosi right now because so.
She's gonna retire soon, so they need a new Nancy Pelosi.
No, I was about to say the same. I'm gonna leave his door open while I go to the bathroom.
I do
Oh,
like when the
God.
door is closed, there's still like an inch crack. That's just definitely you can see into the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, yeah. It's crazy. It's the one thing they forgot to put in the documents 250 years ago, term limits.
Well, the people didn't live as long either.
I don't think the founding fathers wanted parties.
Well, I think the two-party system is what they were wary of.
Warned against.
Yes. It would be interesting
Here comes
if the United States
symposium.
could work.
The third party.
Well, we gotta get ourselves to DC.
No, DC is corrupt. South Bend.
Starting in
the
South
new-
Bend.
Yeah. Yeah.
South
yes.
Bend.
Indiana.
We need to decide
Midwest.
if we need to go either all in on local South Bend politics or all in on the national scene. Where is Symposium going to start? Does it start local or does it start
I think we're human.
national?
I think we're what was our initial tagline? It was what anybody remember? It was like real or no nonsense or
That was great. Yeah, with all
I wish
yeah,
I was on that ride. That was one hell of a stock ride.
we're going to let's put our $10 together and buy a chip. And we'll say we're an AI podcast. Well, actually, podcasts are getting bought. OpenAI bought this tech podcast for like $100 million a couple weeks ago.
shit.
Yeah,
It's a chance.
yeah. They needed more people talking positive about them, so they just bought the.
OpenAI is the best company that I have ever seen.
That's a bold.
They could have had that. They could have had hacked Sam. Give him... Yeah, you need to talk negative about them so that they have. You don't want to say they're great. You want to talk negative about them so that they buy us. Oh yeah, you're right.
Kalshi needs to get regulated.
Mm.
It sounded like you were about to like read a Kalshi ad. You're just like breaking the action.
Yeah, Matt, we need a
Kalshi.
Kalshi ad real quick. Can you spin one up? Or maybe is Chiquita Banana still in our ad? Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I need to go to sleep. We really hit a lot. A live one?
We've been saying that for like the last 3 or 4
We haven't been saying that
episodes
for a while.
We need to do it.
All right.
Yeah.
What year? How old should we? Let's set a thing of like how old does the thing have to be? Because we always evolve into just like picking an AI story. Should we say like it has to be something from like? the
Should we all say
2010s?
a century on the count of 3? Okay, 1, 2,
90s.
1600.
Oh, you see? Wait, who said 1600? That's not. Oh, so I said 14th century, which is actually the
Well,
1300s, right?
Okay, so we have.
Yeah.
Did you say
Said the
1200?
90s.
He said 12th century, so he has the 1100s.
So 1100, 1300. I said
1300.
1600. Justin said 1900.
Okay. All right, lay it on me.
I know this one.
Hold on. Let me
Wait,
think about
I
it.
know this one. No, I saw this not
I
from
did it.
Jeopardy, but from something else.
The
Century.
20th.
All right. January 1st, 1900. Did anyone guess that? That's not a dumb guess. But did anyone say that guess?
Oh, was this Final Jeopardy? I have no idea. I would have said that.
God. Wait, so then the 21st century started in
2001.
2001?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? There was no year 0. It went from 1 BC
Negative
to
1
1
or-
AD.
Yeah. They skipped.
0 That's true. You can't say 0 AD. That's a great icebreaker question. I'm gonna use that.
All right, that's going to do it for episode number 21. Matthew made my day. He's moving back to the big city of South Bend. We're excited to have him back there. 3 of the 4 podcast hosts are going to be in Michiana once again. I'm now the odd man out. You guys are going to have to meet up for some live shows without me. Or I'll make my way up. But you can each maybe have a studio in your respective houses. You can alternate. So that was very, very exciting. We learned about empathy, but we're not going to be too empathetic because we wouldn't want to be mistaken for a liberal. What else? I don't know. It was just good to chop it up. It was nice to connect here on episode 21 after about a month off. So with that, we will be back soon with a nice history episode where we're gonna deep dive into a couple different centuries. We'll see what happens there. And make sure you like the show, subscribe, leave a comment, tell 5 or 6 or maybe 6, 7 friends about Symposium. And there we go. And we will see y'all next time. Bye-bye.
I came up with a good response. I know this is a little late for like the whole 6-7 thing, but if somebody says 6-7, you say 4-5, and you just smack them in their forehead because it's like a high five, but to their forehead. And it's like 4-5, and you just smack them.
Just smack them in the head because they're being annoying. No, I think I'm like way school. On the I'm like way school. Behind. It's like how your great grandma has Facebook.
Talking since the 5th grade, and somehow we've got more to say. Beat kicks and faster rhythm. Inflation's high, the game's too steep. Stream wars rage while we lose sleep. Big tech's wild, the Fed's a mess, but let's start a party, I guess. Symposium, where tangents thrive. Old friends talking, the takes collide. Symposium, no wrong or right. Just good conversation deep into the night. Yeah, we're still talking.